Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about ways in which you are overcomplicating English learning. You're probably doing this. If you're learning a language, if you're learning English, you're probably overcomplicating it. So I'm going to try to simplify it for you because that's what I do on this channel. I keep it real, I keep it realistic, and I keep it simple. All right? Keep it simple. Let's get into it. Number 1, do not try to talk fast. There are a lot of things in learning a language that you don't need to force because it will come naturally with more practice, more experience, more fluency as you advance. It will happen naturally. You will speak faster as you get better, as you practice, as you improve. You don't need to try, okay? A lot of you are coming from languages that you speak very quickly, like Spanish, for example. That's just one example, but a lot of you speak very quickly in your native language and you want to try to do the same thing in English. But you don't need to think about that. You need to focus on saying the correct words, using the correct vocabulary, the correct verbs and verb tenses, the correct pronunciation, clear enough that people can understand you. That is way more important than the speed. The speed is like the least important thing. If you haven't noticed, I am a native speaker of English and I speak slow. I edit my videos to cut out the pauses and to make it seem faster, but the reality is I speak quite slow. And then on top of that, American English is a pretty slow dialect. It's a pretty slow language compared to some others. We have a very relaxed, casual way of talking. And I think the slower you talk, the more relaxed and calm and easygoing you seem. Sometimes I think when we talk too fast, I think it's coming from a place of anxiety. But it depends on the person. It depends on each person's individual brain and the way that they process what they want to say and connect it to their mouth. It's not really something that has to do so much with whether you're a native speaker or not or how advanced you are. Obviously, you're going to speak slow if you're a beginner, if you have a low level, if you have very low speaking experience, like very little speaking practice and experience. But really, it's something that has to do with your personality more than anything. And what I'm telling you is that often the personality of American English is like very relaxed. I speak slow and I'm able to do everything I need to do as a native speaker. So there's no reason to try to speak fast. All right, so this is one less thing to worry about. I want you to completely forget about that. And I'm guilty of this too, because I speak Spanish and I try to speak fast sometimes, but then I'm more likely to make mistakes when I do that. So it's better to just not even try to do that, try to speak correctly, and then the speed will naturally come as you advance, as you get more practice. The more times you practice saying a sentence or phrase, you will get faster at it without even trying. But first, you need to make sure that you're saying that sentence correctly and clearly. The number one thing I think you should focus on when you're practicing speaking another language is pronunciation, especially with English. So I think that makes it simpler for you. You don't have to focus on 20 million different things. Just focus on speaking clearly and correctly. All right, next one. I've talked about this before in a previous video. Don't worry about translating in your head. This is also something that you should not be forcing. This also comes naturally with practice, with experience, with fluency as you advance. When you are learning new things, it is necessary to translate from your native language to the new language. Sometimes literally, sometimes not. It depends. But this is necessary because you're not a little baby, you're not a little child, you need a reference point. So it's totally normal and natural and inevitable to translate from your native language to the new language. You don't need to worry about trying to force yourself to think in English or your new language. Just continue working on your English, and over time, with more and more practice, more speaking, more listening, more exposure, you will start to think in English more often. You will find yourself thinking in English naturally, but not even all the time. I speak Spanish, I learn Spanish, I think in Spanish most of the time when I'm speaking Spanish. But sometimes I still have to think about, okay, now what am I trying to say in English and how would we say that in Spanish? And I have to try to think about stuff like that. This is normal. It's great to learn new ways of thinking in a new language. That's absolutely necessary. When you're studying English, it's important to have thoughts like, oh, that's how they say it in English. Oh, that's different than how they say it in my native language. Okay, so the way of thinking about it is a little different. Instead of thinking like this, they think like this. That will help you speak English correctly. That will help you think in English. So those are great thoughts to have when you're studying. But you don't need to try to force that. That should just happen naturally when you're learning English. Oh, they say that differently. That's a different way of thinking. Okay, great. I'll try to think like that. I'll try to remember that. But you don't need to get frustrated with yourself because you're translating things from your native language, okay? There should be zero frustration, okay? There should be no pressure because all of this stuff is just a natural part of learning a language. Everybody wants to learn a language overnight, but it doesn't happen. It takes years and years of experiences and learning all kinds of little contextual details and, oh, in this case they say this, but in this case they say that. And it takes years of that. So you have to just trust the process and relax. Next one. Don't waste your time learning uncommon idioms. There are so many English teachers on the internet who love to make videos teaching strange idioms. A lot of them we don't use very often. There are a lot of phrases that exist in English that are not things you're going to hear more than once a year, maximum. A lot of idioms, a lot of phrases are not as common as students are led to believe. I think it's good to watch English teachers' videos like mine, for example, that help you identify some of your mistakes, that kind of point out common mistakes that students make and to kind of correct that. I think teachers are really helpful for that. But I think for learning how we speak on a day-to-day basis, like learning how native speakers really talk, you have to listen to native speakers talking naturally. And that's where you'll learn the idioms and, the realistic ones, the realistic phrases and words and idioms. And I'm not talking about movies and TV shows, because movies and TV shows are made with scripts. It's not real, spontaneous talking. There are literal professional writers, like people whose entire career, entire job is to write scripts as creative and interesting and funny and colorful and exciting as possible. That's not realistic speaking. That's not everyday real life talking. That is a script. So I'm not talking about movies and TV shows. I'm talking about natural, spontaneous podcasts, YouTube videos like mine, for example, where you can clearly see that I'm not speaking from a script. This is natural. Videos where people are just talking naturally. Instagram videos, TikTok, whatever. When people are talking to a camera or they're having a conversation with somebody else, like in a podcast, but it's all spontaneous, natural. It's not scripted. And you can tell. You can tell when it's scripted and when it's not. So you need to be listening to unscripted native speakers, speaking the dialect that you want to learn, that you want to improve on. And that is where you will learn the phrases and everything that people really use on a regular basis. If you're watching English teachers saying, don't say once in a while, say once in a blue moon, you need to stop, okay? Because even though once in a blue moon exists, and you might hear a native speaker say it, I think I've only heard one person in my entire life say that, but anyways, the truth is that it's just not common enough to be worth your time. We only have so much time to focus on the language that we're learning. So it's much better to focus on the way more useful language, the phrases that are so much more common and useful. And you don't need a million ways of saying the same thing. Just need one, maybe two ways of saying something. That's it. So bottom line, yes, there are tons of idioms in English. A lot of them are not even that common and not even really worth learning in general. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate English. Next one. Okay, this next one is continuing from what I was talking about before, how movies and TV shows are made with a script. And also, there are a lot of reasons why movies and TV shows are harder to understand than YouTube videos and podcasts. A lot of times, the audio quality sucks, so much so that even native speakers will use subtitles sometimes because the audio is so bad. It's so hard to hear. Oftentimes, they're whispering. There's sound effects and stuff. Like I said, it's a script, so not only is it not spontaneous, talking, like they're not thinking as they speak. They're just like robotically reciting a script. But it's also just like a much faster pace because of that. If you like watching movies and TV shows and you think that it helps you, go ahead. I'm not here to discourage that at all. I certainly use some movies and TV shows to help me with my Spanish. But my favorite resources, the most useful resources for me, were always YouTube videos, Instagram videos, normal speaking. Podcasts. I haven't listened to a lot of podcasts in Spanish, but if I had to learn the language again, or if I wanted to learn a new language, I would probably do that. Podcasts are a great tool, and there's so many of them in English. I mean, so many podcasts in English. All you got to do is just Google it. Just search like podcasts in English. It's just so many. If you're learning English, you're learning a language that is just everywhere on the internet. I mean, there are so many resources. There's so much content of native English speakers naturally speaking. There's really no reason you have to watch like movies and TV shows or scripted things. So if you find yourself struggling with movies and TV shows, like it just seems like it's hard and it's just frustrating, and you understand YouTube videos and podcasts a lot easier, then don't worry about it. Don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. Don't overcomplicate it for yourself. Just stick to the realistic English resources. Just last night, I watched a Colombian movie of these kids that they grew up in the street. They're like kids that live in the street, and they have like a super street dialect of Colombia. It's like Colombian Spanish, but like super like, the kids who live in the street, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I put on the subtitles because I wasn't going to understand a lot of that. But imagine if I tried to judge my Spanish ability based on that video. Like, imagine if I got frustrated, no, I understand that of course I'm not going to understand this. That's not even like the dialect I'm even concerned with. And that's the thing. Pay attention to what you're watching. There's probably like different accents and dialects and different things. Like, don't get frustrated about the fact that you don't easily understand a million different versions of the language you're trying to learn. That's a lot of pressure you're putting on your brain. If you understand 99 or 100% of my videos of me speaking, you're doing fantastic. I understand that I speak slowly and clearly about simple topics right into the microphone with good audio editing, so it's a lot easier. But if you understand me talking, what that tells me is that it's not really your English knowledge that's lacking. You know a ton of English. But a lot of people, when they speak, they don't enunciate very well. They speak too fast. They don't speak clearly. They speak too quiet. Oh my God, the amount of times I've had to tell Spanish speakers to speak up, to speak louder, to yell at me because they're talking too quiet. And I'm like, what the hell are you saying to me right now? I know what you're saying in Spanish, but you're talking too quietly. You need to speak up. Recently, I got a comment on my YouTube channel that said, "Hello, Profe, I understand everything that you say, but my problem is when I listen to other native speakers who seem like they are mumbling, they don't speak clear and in low tone of voice. What do you recommend me to do? Thank you. And by the way, I'm a very big fan of your channel. See you." Okay. I just read that word for words. It wasn't totally correct English, but I just read it exactly. Thank you for your support. To respond to you, if you're listening to native speakers who are mumbling or have a low tone of voice, and you're frustrated about that because you're frustrated with your own English, what are you doing? Why are you frustrated with your ability to understand when these people don't even know how to speak? Okay. You should be frustrated with them not knowing how to speak. And that's the thing. A lot of people just speak really badly. A lot of native speakers are not considerate of others when they speak. Most of them have never learned another language, or they just never really thought about it. They're just not really aware of the importance of speaking clearly. These people annoy me too. You know what you need to tell them? Speak up. I don't understand you. You're mumbling. You need to speak clearly. You need to enunciate. I cannot hear you. That's what you need to say. Because I'm a native speaker, and that's what I would say to them in English or Spanish. Any language. I don't care. It's ridiculous. Why are you taking responsibility for not understanding someone who can't even speak well? If you understand people who speak clearly and you don't understand people who don't, that's not your problem. Stop taking responsibility for that. Stop getting frustrated with yourself. Even native speakers, we don't understand each other when we don't speak clearly, or sometimes we just don't hear each other. So don't overcomplicate it for yourself by putting pressure on yourself and getting frustrated when you don't understand every single thing and every person in English all the time, because that's not realistic. Do you understand everybody in your native language all the time? Do you understand everything all the time super easily? How many times are you speaking your native language and you go, what? What did you say? What? I didn't hear that. What are you talking about? Like, how many times do you do? A lot, right? So relax, okay? Relax. You need to understand that this isn't even about you. It's about people being bad speakers or just like natural human miscommunication. Sometimes we just don't hear each other. We just, also English is a language with a lot of contractions, a lot of things that run together. So yeah, bottom line, relax. The next way you're overcomplicating your English, probably, is by thinking that you need to talk to someone or a native speaker or anyone in English in order to practice your English, in order to practice speaking. You need to understand the difference between speaking and conversation. So many people think that those things are the same. They're not. Speaking is just like producing sound, saying words, saying sentences. It's just you doing the action yourself. Conversation is when at least two people are doing that to each other, right? Unless we're talking about a conversation between you and yourself, but that's more of an abstract concept, but you could do that also, but you don't have to. Generally, a conversation is between two or more people, right? Speaking is not a conversation. Speaking is just speaking. So you don't need anyone to practice speaking, just like you don't need anyone to practice a musical instrument. Maybe if you want to play a whole song with a band, you do, but to just practice your guitar, you don't need anybody else. To study for literally anything, anything you want to learn, you don't need anybody else. Like, you can just study it by yourself. So why would speaking a language be any different? You need to stop thinking of speaking as being the same thing as conversation. So when I say you need to practice speaking, you need to do speaking practice, I'm not talking about conversation. You can if you want to. You could take a conversation class with me or any other teacher on the internet who offers that, but you don't need to practice speaking. You got to be creative. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what you talk about. It doesn't matter how you do it. Just speak. Don't try to tell me that you don't have a million thoughts in your head, because I know you do. I know you have 1,000,001 thoughts in your head. I know that there are 1,000,001 things going on in your life, in the world, that you could talk about. There are 1,000,000 videos and things on the internet, articles and everything that you could respond to. You could literally listen to a podcast and pretend that you are in the podcast and occasionally pause the video to give your opinion in the conversation. Like, there is just so many ways that you can practice speaking. Most of you have heard about shadowing, but it's not just that. It's anything. And as you advance, you will challenge yourself with more complicated topics. Try talking about politics in the language that you're learning. Try talking about other controversial topics. Talk about difficult things. Read an article, watch a video, respond to it, give your opinion. Try to talk about what you learned. Talk about your day, talk about your week, talk about your dreams and aspirations. Literally anything. Oh my God, anything. I don't want to hear anybody asking me this question again of like, how do I do this? Like, use a little bit of creativity, okay? Figure it out. So many people are used to having their hand held and like being walked through everything. And that's just not, you got to grow out of that as an adult. Like, you got to become more autodidactic, because otherwise you're just sabotaging yourself in your growth in many ways. So yeah, don't overcomplicate speaking practice by thinking that you need to talk to someone. You don't. Or you can talk to someone without their knowledge. You can talk to someone on the internet without them even knowing. You can respond to them in your bedroom, like a one-sided conversation that they are not aware of. If it helps you, you can imagine you're talking to someone, you can respond to someone on the internet or whatever. But the point is you don't actually have to be physically, literally talking to someone in order to practice speaking. All right, next one. Don't overcomplicate learning English by watching 1,000,000 videos on YouTube about how to learn English. I see so many videos like this. Sometimes these are the most viewed, the most popular videos. Not even the videos that are actually teaching you English. No. So often I see that these videos that are actually teaching English have very little views. Like nobody even cares. Nobody even wants to watch those. But the videos that are about how to learn English, everybody's watching. Those videos that are like how I went from B1 to C2 in a year or in 6 months, it has like 1 million views. But the video that's actually giving you an English lesson, an actual like speaking, listen to me and practice speaking, lesson, shadowing, whatever, it has 2 views. Everybody is like searching for this secret method and how to maximize and how to go faster and faster. And it's a big waste of time, I think. I think it's a big waste of time. I never watched a single video like this about learning Spanish. I learned Spanish to an advanced level, and I did not watch a single video about how to learn Spanish. I just consumed content in Spanish as much as I could and practiced speaking as much as I could. That's what I did. I cannot complicate it even if I tried to. The solution is often so simple and people don't want to accept it, and they don't want to actually put in the work to actually learn the language, the day-to-day learning, studying of the language. So they would rather watch 1 million videos about how to learn instead of actually learning. If you are one of these people who watches videos about how to learn English, I think you know how to learn English by now. These people are not going to give you some magic solution. They're all telling you the same thing in different ways. And a lot of them are sponsored. So they say, oh, pay a subscription and try this app or try this website or try whatever. It's because they're sponsored. You don't need any of that stuff either. You just need consistent practice, exposure, effort, discipline. That's it. And if you look for content that you enjoy, if you look for things that you like about topics that you like, whatever you would do in your native language, but do it in English, you will enjoy it more and you're more likely to do it. I have always loved watching cooking videos. So when I was learning Spanish, I watched videos about cooking in Spanish. That is one of 1 million examples. That made it feel like I'm not even studying. I'm just doing something for fun, for entertainment, and it happens to be in Spanish. I still do this. I follow a lot of content about topics that I like, but it's in other languages, Spanish or Portuguese, because it gives me that regular exposure to it. You just have to find the content that you genuinely enjoy, but it's in the language you want to learn. Then it won't even feel like studying. Don't overcomplicate it by forcing yourself to look at content that doesn't even interest you just for the sake of learning. And stop watching videos trying to find the method of how to learn English. It's the same way you learned your native language. Exposure, practice, exposure, practice. That's it. And the final way that people overcomplicate English is by thinking they need to move to another country where that language is spoken. But then they live there for years and they realize, wait a minute, I still have very little contact with native speakers, even though I'm living in a country where the language is spoken. And the contact that I do have, they don't correct me. They don't help me. And then they take classes with me. They contact me and they say, I've been living in the United States for 10 years, for 20 years. And, I'm still insecure about my English. I'm still insecure about it. And they have great English, right? But they're insecure about it because if you don't understand that learning a language is a lifelong process and you'll never be like a native speaker exactly, you will keep feeling insecure and you'll keep getting frustrated. And you'll be living in the United States for 20 years and even working in English, and you'll still take a class with me and be like, I don't feel confident with my English. I think people have unrealistic expectations for themselves in a foreign language. And they also have unrealistic expectations for living in a country that speaks the language. They don't realize that, okay, even if you have a job in another language, you're going to be mostly talking about work-related stuff all the time. Not much more than that. And your coworkers are not going to help you with your English. Like, they're not going to correct you and give you feedback. And you're going to know how to talk about stuff at work, but you're not going to know how to talk about anything else. And it's not like your neighbors are just going to come over to your house and start talking to you all the time. And yeah, let's have conversation. Let's be best friends. It's just not realistic. It just doesn't happen, especially in places like the United States, for example. The reality is, most of the time, people live in their bubble of their family and their friends that they already have, and they're in their car, and they're at home, and they're maybe at work, but people live in their bubbles. And people in English-speaking countries are not super interested in talking to everybody because they're used to it. They're not surprised to see foreigners or non-native English speakers. It's nothing special. It's nothing new there. And if you already have a decent level and you're single, you could use dating apps and you could try to get an English speaking partner. And I mean, that would be great. But a lot of people are already in a relationship when they want to move to another country. And so you're really going to be in a bubble. So yeah, the answer to become fluent in a language is not to move to a country that speaks that language. Think about how many people, I mean, millions and millions and millions of people do that. They move to other countries and they don't become fluent in that language. You're also not going to become fluent by taking a course or even from taking conversation classes or from just watching content in English, just listening. It's a combination of a lot of different things. And really the most important part is your individual speaking practice. That doesn't even require you to spend money. It doesn't even require you to leave your room, to leave your house. It's the easiest and also most important way to improve in a language. And yet it's the thing that people think of the least when they say, oh, I want to improve, I want to learn. They don't think of that. Everybody is always looking for an external solution. Oh, I need to go to a school. I need to go to another country. I need to spend money over here. That's not how you build your foundation of fluency. That's not how you achieve fluency. And for some people, it's going to be easier than others. We all learn at different speeds. We retain information at different levels of easiness. I don't know. For some of us, it's really easy to imitate sounds. For other people, it's really hard, but everybody can improve. Everybody can improve with consistent exposure and practice. All right, so those are just some of the ways that you might be overcomplicating learning English. And most of it is in your mind. Most of it is just you need to change the way you think about learning English. It's not even like what you're doing that's a problem. It's like just the way you're thinking about it. All right, so I hope this video helped you. Let me know in the comments if I made you think about something in a new way that you haven't thought about before. I appreciate your feedback, and I hope you have a wonderful day or night. See you in the next one. Bye.